My name's Sebastian Perez from the Digital Acid, and I've got something special for you today. I'm going to talk a little bit about my personal choice in headset and how I came to those decisions. I know a lot of people may have heard about virtual reality. Maybe you know nothing about it. Maybe it sounds like something strange and foreign. And so I realized how many different steps there are to figuring out what headset is right for you. And then also it sucks to feel ripped off because you chose the wrong thing because you didn't understand. And so there's all these technical terms. And I thought it would be cool to kind of first give you a tour around my own headset, explain to you why I chose it, give you guys some useful definitions, and kind of turn you into a VR pro overnight. So if you stay tuned into the stream, you'll learn a lot about what's going on out there in the VR landscape, and we could talk about prices, we could talk about specs, we can talk about different features and how it works, and what it means to you. So that's kind of the goal today. So I'm going to be talking about the new Oculus, both of the new headsets that were released. Valve has talked about releasing another headset. And so I know that people are considering this for business or enterprise purposes, or maybe for personal use. And so there's all this kind of stuff to sort through to try to figure out which brand is right for you. Is it HP? Is it Samsung? Is it, are you better off with an Oculus? And so I don't think most people have the answers to those questions. And so that's what we're going to be talking about today. In our past live streams, we've done other advanced technology shows where we had an AI face off with another AI. We've done some technology news stories. So we're testing the waters and seeing what you guys love out there on LinkedIn Live. And yep, we're still in beta. So if you want to go ahead and let me know any questions that you have below. We're answering questions live. We're giving live shout outs. And we're having a debate. No more singing, please. I'm not sure who is singing, but maybe, I guess that was my intro. Okay. Big shout out to Augustin, Christian, Petras. Welcome to the stream, and to the other ones out there who decide to be unknown. If you'd like to jump in the comments, say hello, and let me know that you exist. That would be awesome. So anyways, without further ado, let's talk about this headset here. Now, this headset that we have in front of us is the Samsung Odyssey Plus. A lot of people, when they think of a Samsung VR headset, they automatically think about the cell phone one with that you would slap in your Galaxy phone into, and it was like a $20 plastic thing. This is not that, and we're going to talk about all those terms today. But here, this is the Samsung Odyssey Plus. It's part of a partnership for Microsoft, which is the Windows Mixed Reality series, and it has multiple headsets in partnership. So here you see there's the Lenovo, the Acer, the Samsung Odyssey, the HP, and the Dell headset. And they're all part of a partnership for Microsoft in which all of these headsets can work with your PC, and then the platform you're running is Windows Mixed Reality. And it's kind of cool. It's got like a desktop, and you can run anything from like Excel, any backwards compatible with any kind of Microsoft products, and you can kind of use it in VR. So that is a huge advantage if you want to use it as a, kind of a computer in itself. And that's really what this is, a computer that you can space things out and have infinite windows and stuff. So let me show you a little bit of specs about this headset that you're looking at here. And actually, we're going to pull up the video first that shows kind of some of the features here. So here you see the Samsung Odyssey Plus, and there is a version before this that is a non-plus, and I'll explain what's the difference. But here you can see that from the last generation to the next generation, you can see that they've updated something called a screen door effect, which I'll talk about a little bit later. You can see this term called field of view, which I will explain what that means. And all of these headsets will have these in common where they will boast these features. And I feel like by breaking down some of these terms, you can make a really good educated decision on what headset's right for you. So you can see that it has this detachable front pad, which can be replaced with third-party parts, which I'll also show you. They also move the pairing directly with the headset. So these are all like small, nuanced sort of ideas. But here is the main point. 2 cable setup plugged directly into your PC. Inside-out tracking, so you don't have to set up any kind of sensors in the room. It's a very easy setup, and that's what really helped me make my decision on this headset. Was I wanted to have a laptop. So in order to run a headset like this, you need to have a powerful gaming laptop or a laptop that has a fast graphics card. And so I wanted to have an easy setup with cable management. So I wanted to be able to, put the headset in a bag and then pop it out, 2 cables into the side of my laptop, track the room, and I'm ready to go with a high-end experience. It also had one of the highest resolution displays that you can buy, so much so that the Rift S by Quest that's coming out, and it's not out yet, this has the same display, and I've had this for months now. So here in the front, you'll see that there is 2 cameras. Those cameras are not regular cameras. They're depth cameras in which it tracks where you are in the room. And so basically it kind of throws out these dots, which we call a point cloud. And it kind of tries to track where that space is moved. So if there's a poster on the wall, or if there's a specific chair, or anything that the computer can hold on to, it goes, okay, that's where you are in relation to that object. So with these 2 cameras, they have kind of like this 360, like a bubble, is that like a fisheye lens? There you go. And basically, you have these controllers, which a lot of people like the way they look, because it has these lights on the end. And you can see that basically these cameras here in the front track those lights. And so when you're moving it, it's doing an algorithmic calculation to know how that changes the picture on the inside. So I think the big part that a lot of people don't get is what's the difference between like expensive or high-end VR compared to something like a mobile VR. And really the answer to that is the fact that a lot of times they don't have what's called 3DOF, or it is 3DOF and it's not 6DOF. So that basically means full motion tracking. So if you were to have a regular, like a cheaper end headset, you would have a controller. Generally they'll give you one, and it's kind of like a Netflix remote or something like that, or like a and a 3DOF controller would be stuck in space, and it would just rotate like this. So you'd have kind of like a laser pointer, and that would be how you choose the menu. Whereas a 6DOF, you can do all of full tracking, forward, back, left, right, side to side, up, down, diagonal. So that would be and the same goes for the headset. So I want to show you a couple mods that I've done to this headset as well, and you'll kind of figure out why as we review some terms, and maybe this will help you make a decision. So I think every headset has a trade-off. You never find the perfect headset that has all the things you want, so you kind of have to decide what's most important to you and what are you trying to achieve. So I did a lot of comfort mods on this headset. So first off, I want to say, if you're going to get a headset, you need a case. It's not like trying to sell you a case. It's literally super important, because basically, so I have this not custom headset, but it is molded to the size of the headset. And the reason why you want this is because these lenses here act like magnifying glass. And so if you leave your headset out in the sun or any kind of sunlight, the sunlight passes through here, magnifies, and then that light is being magnified onto your display in the inside, which is like your TV. So it's basically like burning a hole in your TV. So if you want to burn a hole in your TV, don't get a case like this. But if you want to protect your investment outside of getting bumped around, you definitely need something to cover up the lenses. Now, another thing that I've added here is this top head strap. The reason why I did this is there's been some debates, right? VR is fairly new on a commercial level, and there's some debates as to what's the best way to get a perfect fit for every head on the face of the earth, okay, which is a difficult problem to solve. So they have this thing called the Halo. So without this head strap, this is custom, this is added on top. You have this Halo style head strap, and it has a crank here on the back, and you put it on and then you tighten it to your fit. Problem is that the weight distribution happens on the forehead and on the back of your head. So you get these like crazy red lines on your head after wearing it for a few hours, or some people get headaches. So Rift, like by Oculus, they generally have a top strap. And so this is a third-party company, and it's a good example of how people buy this $500 headset, and then it creates an ecosystem below it of other people's starting companies and doing mods to make these things more comfortable or to solve other problems that the original manufacturer has not yet solved. So for me, this head strap allows people to just put it on and wear it like a hat, and it distributes all the weight to the top, so you don't have that sort of pain here in the front or in the back. So I got this shipped handmade from New Zealand. There is not a mass scale solution to this. Also here in the headphones, you'll see that this has like a cup. The original ones that come with it have flat headphones that don't have the inner cup. So I switched out the leather here and changed it to get more bass and to be more immersed in the audio than having less audio leak. This part here, this is an aftermarket facial interface, and basically this stuff, let me show you what it comes with, and then you'll understand why. I'm going to go in my bag of treats here, and I'm going to explain to you why. This, to me, is transformative to the headset. So you have a few problems with the original designs, which is you'll get light leak. So that's when light is coming through here and going into the headset, and then it's kind of making you aware that you're not in this experience. So this is the original standard facial interface, and this is the sort of aftermarket by VR Cover, and they make them for every single headset. So for the new Quest that's coming out, they've confirmed already that they're making a new one, and these run about $35 for two, but it's a must. It's like it's not even a choice. Plus, from a hygiene standpoint, you can take these off, you can wash them, you can wipe them down. Where if you have one and you're passing on from person to person to person to person, well, you can imagine how that might get a little gross quick. They also have these ones that you can throw away. So if you're in a business and you're doing an enterprise, you can go ahead and swap those out with a little paper and it has rubber bands, and then you just switch them out, and then hundreds of people can kind of go through the headset. Let me jump over to the comments real quick and grab a few here. But big shout out to Sehan and Barry Levy and Nick Molderig. Okay, Barry brings up a great question. How do you know what graphics card to have? So what's really cool is things have advanced a lot in the space, and now you can go to Oculus or to most of the headset manufacturers, and you can download a file which basically runs on your computer, and then it tests all of your specs, and it will tell you not only if you qualify to be able to run a VR headset on that computer, but also at what performance you're going to get it out of. So for example, like low performance or mid or high. Generally, you have for most cases, it's like NVIDIA GTX 1050 or 1060 and above. It depends. But and for AMD, it's coming. I'm missing the spec now in my mind. But any new computer should be up to spec, as long as it's got a decent graphic card. They've lowered the standards a lot too, so that way more people can get into VR and not be blocked out. So I'd highly suggest go to the manufacturer, download that little test thing. I know Steam has one. I know Oculus has one. I know Windows Mixed Reality has one. So that should, I'm pretty sure Vive has one. So go ahead and run it. You might be surprised. And some of these headsets you can pick up for $200. So if you already have the computer, you have a super high-end experience ahead of you, and you don't have a big investment. Where the big investment comes in is if you don't have a high-end PC, and then you also don't have without the high-end PC, you're stuck. So and then you need to buy the headset on top of it. It becomes very expensive. But today I want to also talk to you about a couple other things that you're going to need for your headset, and then I want to go on to some terms and explain to you how you can get through the journey to find out what is the perfect headset for you. Should you be choosing a mobile VR solution? Should you be choosing an all-in-one, a self-contained solution? Or should you be doing a PC VR? We'll talk about those differences. But I just want to pull out a few more goodies out of my bag and explain to you some of the things that I ran into and what I bought to sort of fix it. So I showed you already the enhanced audio. I showed you the top head strap. I showed you the custom facial interface here. Let's take a look at the controllers really quickly. And here I've got these Wiimote straps, and they've got this clip, and it kind of slides down like that, and then you can tighten it and click it in place. These are not the ones that the headset came with. The ones that they came with didn't have this extra tightening strap, so people kind of, when you're in VR, you want to be as immersed as possible, and you don't want things from the outside world bothering you, so you'll be surprised how quickly it'll annoy you, these little small things that might bother you. So by adding this, it allows you to tighten the strap, and then for sure if you're swinging your arms, you're throwing a sword, you're being chased by bad guys, that you're not going to throw a hole in your TV. Cool. Now, because most of these controllers are AA batteries, you'll notice that you'll go through batteries very quickly. So I have a rechargeable AA battery, and this charger with this big battery pack is way different from this one. So when you look into it, this is a 15-minute supercharger, so a little bit more expensive, but it definitely makes a difference when you have, people playing and you want to swap out the batteries quickly. 15 minutes is one experience, boom, you're charged up, you're ready to go. So where this one is going to take you a few hours to recharge. So something else to consider. And ending my bag of goodies here is extension. So we're going to talk about wireless solutions and how that's kind of on the rise. But basically what this is two separate cables that need to be high speed. Not just any HDMI will do, not just any USB 3 will do. And basically I have tied them together here, and these would plug into the headset. Now, I wouldn't suggest anything longer than 3-meter extension, because then what happens is the headset starts to slow down and get glitchy, and then while you're in there, you might get a little pukey. You know what I mean? So these would plug in. Let's pull up my cables here. And this is for people who want to be able to walk far distances, not get wrapped up in the cable. So here, plug in this extension. And like I said, you don't want to go over 3 meters. I know that there's 6-meter cables. I've tried them. I wasted my money on them. So 3 meters, that's your farthest. It'll give you some extra rope to walk around. It'll make you feel a little bit more immersed because you won't have to worry about getting pulled by the back of your head. But what the ultimate solution is wireless. So let's grab a couple, just a quick comment here. Vivian is not a gamer, but this is insightful. So Vivian, one thing I want to say to everyone out there is that this is not strictly for gaming. This is actually like the evolution of the PC. So you can bring up multiple apps. You can bring up Excel. You can bring up, Skype or any type of Windows browser. So it is not just games. That is the sort of bad rap that VR got, was that it's only games. But there's meditation, there's business applications like enterprise stuff where you can go and have a meeting with someone and like do notes and stuff. You can build things, you can create things. So there's fitness. There is a lot of there's educational stuff where you can learn how to do surgery and all types of crazy, amazing things that you can only do in VR. Hopefully it's insightful for everyone, because the idea would be that there's a lot of potential here in these devices to use it for things that we can't normally achieve in real life. So if I want to learn how to do surgery, you have to do it on a plastic dummy. And you have to have access to all that stuff. With this, you can perform 1,000 surgeries until you know it perfectly. And then when you go into real life, this is basically a simulator. So anything that could be simulated, a vacation, anything, any situation that, homelessness, what it's like to feel homeless. Like, this is a journalistic tool. This is a storytelling tool. So this is way beyond games, and that's why you have a lot of professional, HP, Lenovo, Asus, Acer, Microsoft. These guys are all in it, not for gaming. This is for the computer of the future. So that's cool, awesome. And we've got Manny Francisco say, thank you for doing this video, and audio quality is good. That makes me smile. Awesome. All right, so cool. All right, so we've got this headset here. Also, check this out, Windows Mixed Reality here on the side. That's that partnership I was telling you about. That's 3 or 4 different headsets. So let's just jump into some terms, and we're going to talk about what are the things that you need to know before choosing your headset. Okay, and then and also, of course, if you guys have any questions down here in LinkedIn Live, I'll be answering them live for you. So the first debate is it going to be a mobile VR, self-contained, or PC VR? So I want to explain to you the differences. And right now, do you know the answer to that question? There are people who are well versed in virtual reality. Some people don't know the difference. And unfortunately, that's where a lot of the expectations are broken, where people expect to have this great experience, or they've heard a lot about virtual reality. They choose the wrong headset, and then it doesn't meet up with their expectations, and then they write off the whole category of virtual reality. And I that's why I feel like educating is going to help more people either give VR another try or try it for the first time. And that's what I'm hoping for. And so no question is wrong. If you guys have any questions for me, I'm answering, trying to simplify and break this stuff down so anyone can understand it. And if I'm not explaining well enough, please call me out so that way I can make sure that it's well understood. We've got some really technical terms, but I will make sure that you won't be left out. So here's the first difference, right? So you have mobile VR, and that's what a lot of people have experienced for the first time. Why? Because maybe people in the industry, when virtual reality came out, they got so excited that they're like, how can we get this to everybody? And when you think about scale, generally you got to think about cost. And so what's the cheapest possible way to get VR into someone's hands? One of the solutions that was architected was Google's approach, which was Google Cardboard. So it means that a lot of people got a piece of cardboard, cut it up, made a little shifty little headset, and then slid their iPhone, not their iPhone, but any Android phone, into the headset. And then there was an app store in which anybody could try it. it was also, if you wanted an upgraded experience from that nasty little cardboard, then you got maybe a Samsung Gear or any of those cheap headsets that you see on eBay and Amazon for like 20, 30 bucks, 40 bucks, 50 bucks. Any of that stuff, you got to keep your expectation low, because it's a piece of plastic that is using all of the tech that's inside of the phone, period. So, if you're buying a $100 headset, 50, 30, 40, that's not the ultimate experience. Okay, it's like watching it on a tube TV versus watching it at an IMAX. So, the display quality is going to be low. But the advantage is that it's portable. So in a lot of cases, portable and cheap. Let's say you're doing some enterprise stuff and you need to have, 50 people in the room do VR all at the same time, then mobile is probably going to be your way to go. And that's maybe the best solution for you. Self-contained is a new option that has been just brought up. And one of the ones that I can give you an example of, and one of the only ones I can give you an example of, is the Oculus Quest. So I'll show you what the Oculus Quest looks like. And basically, this headset is all built in. And a lot of people think it's going to change the landscape. So they kind of made a compromise in between high-end PC VR, or PC-based virtual reality, and mobile. And a lot of people either didn't have the right phones, plus there is the cables that PC VR brings, plus you want to know, does it have the tracking that I was talking about earlier? And here you can see this full room tracking, and that's what brings virtual reality to the next level, is when you can see your own hands, or when your hands look like Hulk's hands, and you move it in front of your face and you have that sense of presence. Now, if you just have the 3DOF mobile VR, then you just have a floating remote control that's like a laser pointer. So that's kind of some of the differences, and so that's what's called self-contained. And we hope to see more stuff in this category. Also, Vive has released their own overseas called the Focus, and so I think that this trend is going to continue, because a lot of people don't like to deal with having a PC and cables and all that stuff. So the first time to be fully wireless, to be not constrained to what devices can connect to it, this Oculus Quest, I think I would recommend to most people, and there's also an enterprise level, who don't already have a high-end VR system. So if it's your first experience, I think skip the mobile VR thing and jump right into a Quest. That's $399, and you're going to have an amazing experience. And everybody who I've talked and showed it to, you don't need to know anything about virtual reality. You hit the power button, it turns on, there's a menu, it's intuitive, you click, and you start seeing stuff. It has HBO, it has basketball games, NBA, it's got, you can watch Game of Thrones on there. Like, everything that you would want to do, you can even do remote PC and control a PC from inside the VR. So that is a Quest is a great option, and I think that's why a lot of people are excited, because we can finally say, okay, you don't know nothing about VR, get that Quest, and I guarantee it's going to be great. So that's what I would suggest to anybody who's new to the space. And the last category is PC VR. So that's headsets like, and this is generally for someone who either needs to see very high resolution graphics or wants to, needs to have accurate tracking behind them. So it's like certain like gamers, or if you're recording something for something like on enterprise and you need to have these accurate movement tracking and you can't have a frame missed, then that's kind of where you might want to go into some PC VR stuff. So the ability to customize or load in like software that you've designed. You can't do that on a Quest as of yet. We don't think so. Mobile VR you can, but this is more for when you have to sort of impress. Or maybe you have an arcade. A lot of people are setting up VR arcades where they buy 10 PCVRs, line them up, give everybody space, and then they just run games all day, and people just go in and out every 10 or 15 minutes. So it all depends on what you need. I will be getting a Quest also, but this has been my decision. So let's talk a little bit about tracking, and we're going to talk about 3DOF versus 6DOF. So 3DOF is 3 degrees of freedom, and I don't want this term to scare you. It basically means it's the limitation of movement that is most known that goes along with mobile VR. And that's mainly because of sensors. So it's like a lack of sensors that are in that headset. Makes sense. Like, it's cheap, so you can't have all the fancy sensors doing the motion tracking. And so all of the cell phone based VR, cardboard, and kind of lower end headsets, you'll see on the box or in the specs 3DOF. And that's generally what I would recommend against. That's kind of, in a way, the older, cheaper tech that I think will probably never be implemented new again, but it's what was out there in order to scale to millions of people. It was a trade-off. So 6DOF is, here we have the PCVR headsets is 6DOF, 6 degrees of freedom. And so I'm going to show you a graphic that's going to explain what each of those degrees of freedom are. And here it is. So this is what it means. It's the 3 degrees of freedom. So if you have a regular mobile VR, this is what you can do. You can basically keep your body still. So this is an example. The Oculus Go is a 3 degrees of freedom headset. And so you can sit still and move your head up and down, then from left to right, and then finally from side to side on the Z-axis. But that doesn't handle you moving forward or moving backwards or leaning left and right or jumping up and down. And so that's kind of what you're missing. So you're kind of stuck in a little bit of a bubble where you can only sit down in a chair and only rotate your neck. If you move your body, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Where here you can see the sway and the heave, which is up and down. That's for the high-end headsets, and just basically means you can move in any direction and you can feel free. You can have those degrees of freedom to move in any direction, and the visual will match. And the reason why this term is so important that a lot of people have missed, and it has been, in a way, a marketing issue. People don't know 3DOF or 6DOF. They're like, I just want VR. They buy a 3DOF. They put on the headset. They're watching this immersive experience, whether it be a roller coaster or whatever it is they're trying to do. And they get so excited that they move forward or they lean side to side and whoa, and it's hard to explain to somebody that, hey, that doesn't have the sensors for you to be able to do that. So instead what happens is they get nauseous. And then that's what a lot of people think. They go, oh, virtual reality makes me nauseous. And that's, in a sense, it's a lack of information that you are doing 6DOF movements in a 3DOF headset. But try to explain that to somebody. Nobody's going to get it. So I hope that helps you guys. So you need to know, is 6DOF important to you? Are you only going to sit in a chair and not move? And the risk of getting sick, or 6DOF, which is the Quest does it for $399, the PCVRs do it for a little bit more. So it's up to you. So that was 3DOF versus 6DOF. Cool. Let me give a quick shout out to everybody out here on LinkedIn Live, and we're going to go on to the next topic, which is tracking. And this is a fun one. So this is inside-out tracking versus outside-in tracking. And you're like, what? What does this mean? Actually, this part is what helped me decide on this headset. And also is a big topic of discussion right now because Oculus has kind of made a line in the sand here, and they've changed their direction of how they're building their headsets based off of this topic here. So what does it mean? So you have inside out and outside in. Outside in is kind of the older way to do tracking, which is basically setting up base stations. They're sort of like little cameras, and I can show you here what that looks like. So this guy here works for HTC Vive, and the Vive is considered one of the really like nice high-end setups. They're a little bit expensive, and they use this sort of outside-in tracking. So the idea is that they're going to clear up some space, and then he's going to install these cameras on these. Look at those tripods. So that's what's helping track the controllers. So if you remember when I showed you my headset has cameras on the front of it, where this guy, they are using these cameras that are mounted in the room. So this is a great solution if you have a permanent VR space that you're okay with mounting up tripods and leaving them there. For me, on the enterprise level, I imagine meeting up with a client and then saying, all right, give me 45 minutes while I set up my cameras. That for me was a no-go. But for a lot of people who may have a VR room or a bedroom that they know that they can leave it set up in, or a workspace that could permanently be left up, this is a great solution because it does more accurate tracking, and you can pair multiple trackers together, so you can have your back tracked. You can have two in the front and two in the back, and basically you have to buy those sensors one at a time. So that's kind of the old way, and that's called outside in tracking. And so Oculus used to do it that way for the Rift, but they had little tripods that are already built, and you would just put them on the table, and you would face them both towards you, and then like let's say it gets moved, then you have to recalibrate. So all that calibration and setting up process is what moved me away from outside in. And what's been popping up a lot in the industry, and what Windows Mixed Reality made popular, I believe, is this inside out tracking. And so that's the cameras placed here. So that's the same as those base stations, but they're placed here on the headset, and then they are doing inside out tracking. So they are tracking from the inside out rather than the cameras being on the outside tracking in. And so the new Quest has 4 sensors. The Rift S has 5 sensors. And so I can show you here how this tracking works for the outside, the inside out. And this is the same for the Windows Mixed Reality. And basically you plug in your 2 cables into your PC. For the Quest, that's not the case. It's all built into the headset, and it's mapping your room. So it knows where the chairs, the tables are, and a lot of people go, oh, well, how do I move around in my room or in my space without running into stuff? Well, they have something called a Guardian system, and you can see how it works here. And it's a mixture of computer vision and depth sensors, and you can see it's projecting these little, what's called a point cloud, and it's tracking those points, and it's moving the image inside in relation to that. So for me, I liked having the tracking built in. I don't need to have these poles or tripods or having to set up. If I want to go to a friend's house or a coworker, I can just pop the headset out of my backpack, do the quick tracking, and I'm ready to go. So that was a big deciding factor for me. I think we also have another graphic that we can pull up that can show you those sensors of the Rift S and the Quest, and or not, or we don't. So that's cool. So basically, this idea of doing inside-out tracking, it saves you some space, it saves you some setup time, but you lose a little accuracy. So to give you an example, the cameras are on the front here, and it's got these, let's turn on this control, you got these lights. And so if this headset is here, right, and I'm doing one of these like tennis, right, or if I'm pulling a sword out of my back, or I'm doing some sort of reach back here, the cameras here in the front cannot see this controller. So it estimates and it snaps it into place. And so some heavy-duty gamers don't like the fact that it snaps, and they want accurate, gaming. So then you might want the sensors on the outside where you can put a sensor behind you and track your back. Quest has changed things by putting 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rift S has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it still has a cable, but it has more sensors. It means that it will have more accurate tracking. But my display is the same. I have the same tracking system. It has less tracking cameras, but I have Microsoft as an interface, Windows. So that's the compromise. And then I added my head strap because I wanted that extra comfort, where maybe on another headset it was more comfortable, but it had a lower resolution screen and stuff. So yeah, so that's a quick overview of inside out tracking. And I'm going to quickly take some comments here from the live stream. And big shout out to everybody who's out there. So let's see. We have Vive is great, but do recommend... this is Anton. Vive is great, but do recommend tripod stands. Otherwise, the wall mounts are a bit intrusive. I had good usage of it, but during one of the recent driver updates rounds, it ended up no longer being recognized by my PC. The VR stands also vibrate slightly when in use. Over time, it can shift their orientation, causing them to lose sync. Inside Out seems like a better overall setup. Yes, I agree. So that's the thing. Any slight movement of these sensors being installed, you got to remap everything. So I think that that's why Oculus took the direction that they did. And so they discontinued the Rift, which had the little stands, which a lot of people in a way got upset about. Like the hardcore gamers were like, why would you do that and trade it for inside out tracking? And they did it both on the Quest and the new Rift S. So it basically says, bye-bye outside in trackers, unless you're one of two companies. You're either HTC Vive or you're Valve and you're doing the Index. So, and they kept the base station sort of, method of tracking. And that's because it's for that audience that wants that extra accurate tracking. So let's see what else. From a fitting point of view, will it fit my kid's head and my massive noggin without some sort of adapter? Different headsets fit differently. Generally, they try to give it a good amount of range. So on this headset, this is the Halo style, and some people find Halo versus the top head strap more comfortable because of their head shape. But this is all the way extended, so this is about as wide as it goes. There are on the Rift and other headsets, you have these material straps that have a Velcro, so you can kind of get a little bit more leeway. If you really have a massive head, then some people do some mods where they extend the straps or whatever. And the kids, it depends how small of a kid we're talking here. I've seen some people definitely tighten up some headsets to fit kids. However, there is some parental advisory below a certain age just because VR is so new that we don't necessarily know all the ins and outs of what it does for kids. But the hope is that kids would be fine. Let's see. The straps are adjustable and most units come with a few different face-fitting masks. That said, the core unit is still more fit to an adult size head than not. Depending on how old your kid is, it may be difficult. Thanks for jumping in here, Anton. That's absolutely correct. Yeah, so I think we should move on to the next topic. And again, if you guys have more questions, let me know. We got a few more things to cover. But one last thing, sometimes these facial interfaces that I showed you will help with the fit. Because it adds more padded material, it kind of brings the lenses closer to your face. And so let's say it's not fitting tight enough, and since it's mushy, then you can, for a larger fit, it will still fit, right? So there you go. Cool. LinkedIn Live. Ann Perkins. Okay. So next one, room scale versus seated. Okay, so this is more directed at the types of experiences. So you have the capabilities of your headset, which is like, can it move sixed off? Can it move motion forward, backward, left, right, up, down, in all the directions? And then, of course, what movie or experience are you looking at? What is the offering of that? So think about it like this. It's like you're watching a Blu-ray movie on an old TV. You need to have the technology that matches the experience in order to get all the expectations out of it, right? So when you're talking about room scale, there's a few terms here, but room scale is basically, I'm going to show you the difference between mobile VR and kind of like seated experiences. And so here this young lady is going to start off in the lowest common denominator, which is the seated experience, and this is common with mobile VR. So you see how she is not moving her chest forward, backward, left, right, and that's what she sees in her head. So she's kind of what's called the fishbowl effect, or she's in a fishbowl. She can rotate her neck only, but she cannot move her body, and that is a symptom of lower. And now here, this is called desk scale. And so if you get one of these PC VR headsets, you'll be able to move forward, left, back, and right, and you can set it in desk mode, but you won't have to walk around. So not all the time so you'll get the sixed off freedom in a seated experience, and you won't get sick, but you won't have to walk around. So for example, like my dad, he doesn't really like games that you want to jump around and shoot and twist and turn. He just wants to sit down. So if you have a nice sixed off headset, you could do that. And then this is room scale. So this is the ability to walk forward, step, kneel, kind of like walk around this area. And then of course, if you want to go farther than the cube, then you have the teleport tool. And so I hope that helps explain a little bit. So here you have room scale, and then there's something else that's on the rise, which is called world scale. So far it's a marketing term. I'd like to see it being used. But basically the idea is that because these things have sensors in the front, you're doing inside-out tracking, and the idea would be you continue walking and those continue mapping in places that it hasn't yet seen. So generally, for these room scale sixed off experiences, you just map the room, you trace the open space, and then that is your safe space. And so in the world scale, there wouldn't be this pre-setup that would go, and then all of a sudden you're having to map a new room. This would be continuously mapping. So in any case, on the games, if you see seated experience versus room scale, if you see room scale, that means you're going to go play in your living room or in your space. You're going to move around. Seated obviously means seated. Cool. All right. We're going to talk about two more topics that are really, really important to choosing your VR headset. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll know exactly what. And if you don't, message me and I'll help you. So we have field of view. Now this is, in some people's belief, the most important. I don't know if it's the most important, but it's definitely important to choosing your display. And so I'm going to show you a graphic that has a comparison here. So look here in the bottom. This is a 90-degree field of view. So this is how much of the image you're seeing inside of the headset. So think about it like a widescreen like TV. Like how wide does this TV wrap around the peripherals of your eyes? So is it as far back as you can see? So 90 is very small, but that's basically where the first generation VR headsets like the Oculus Rift and then Quest and Go, they're kind of at this 90 range. Now another popular range is here you have the Vive and the Vive Pro at 110, and also a lot of the Windows mixed reality have a 110 field of view. So that has been, up until now, most of the headsets that you buy new are going to be around a 110 field of view, and that's how wide you can see, how much picture is being shown to you, if it's not being cropped out, so to speak. Then the Valve Index, the time that this graphic was made was before the Valve Index was released, so it's actually off by 5%, or 5 degrees, pardon me. It's 130 degrees. Then you have a company, which was a Kickstarter company, who came out, and those are generally available by like pre-order and etc. This is called a Pimax, and they've made an 8K and a 5K display with an extremely wide field of view. But on your face, it hangs off the side of your face like a very wide field of view because they have basically a very long display. So. And then here at the top, you can see the limits of human vision. So ideally, if you wanted to cover every fragment of vision, then all these headset companies will end up at a 220. And actually, if you want to get technical, you might have to add 5 or 10 degrees on there, because what's happening is this thing called interpupillary distance, or IPD, which we can't cover today. But basically, people's eyes are spaced separately from their nose, right? So basically, some people have eyes that are farther out here, some people are closer to their nose. And so here, this is what we call a mechanical IPD adjustment. And so when someone throws on the headset, I just generally tell them it's the focus. It's not the focus. It's actually the lenses. You'll see here in the back. Let's see if you can, let's see. And you see those moving a little bit, right? Is it this camera? Here we go. You see those? So that's trying to accommodate for all the types of faces in the world. And so what happened was Oculus with the Rift S, they introduced something called a software-based IPD. And what that means is they have some sort of magical software that I've never seen. We'll have to find out how it works. But it adjusts by software and then moves the images. But what you have as a sacrifice is in field of view, you can lose a few degrees depending on how these lenses are adjusted or how the image is adjusted for the width of your eyes. So you might see 130 or 200 or whatever, 220 is the limit, but then you need 225 or 230 to be able to cover all the types of faces because they need to be moved. So, boom. All right. We're going to go on to our last word, and that is going to be screen door effect. So, this is actually pretty easy to think about. If you've ever seen a screen door, it's literally that. So you kind of have like that black crisscross, and I can show you an example, but here look at the HTC Vive. Here you can see all those black dots. That's the screen door effect, or SDE. So you can see that the Pimax has a lot less screen door effect, which is those black pixels, and that's kind of like the space in between the pixels on the display. So remember, you're using magnifying glasses to look at a regular display, and it's so magnified that you can see the space in between. So when you're in there, you can kind of fit, like if it has really bad screen door effect, you'll know that you're staring at a screen because you'll see like the pixels. Where screen door effects, like, for example, the Odyssey Plus, which is another reason why I chose this, is the original Odyssey did not have anti-screen door effect. This one, they have registered a patent in which a technique where they apply a filter over the screen. So in those black spots, they're applying basically light. So it's canceling out the darkness with the light, and so the perceived quality is way higher, and so thus not only is it a high resolution screen, but the perceived human quality of it is even higher than most headsets because they've found a way to tackle that problem. So generally, LED screens have it really bad, OLED a lot less. So the Samsung are the king of displays, so no shocker here. And I think that covers all the topics. I'm gonna go ahead and quickly touch base with you guys, see if there's any questions about purchasing a virtual reality for personal reasons or for enterprise reasons. I think I can give you some help here. And let's see what the people are saying out there in LinkedIn Live. Thanks, Anton, for watching. Awesome. So big shout out to everybody out here. Manny Francisco, Vivian, Anton, Barry, everybody who's been participating in the comments. I hope this has helped you today in deciding your headset and what are the things to look for. It can be very confusing. There's 10 or 20 companies out here that you can buy, plus all the knockoff bootleg stuff that's on eBay and Amazon. Quick tip there, just skip right over all that stuff. It's not worth it. I would say, if first timer, go for a Quest. I think it's going to be the best all-in-one experience for $399. You can't beat it. Unless you have a PC that has the specs, run that software on your computer, see if it's compatible. Try VR, and understand that a lot of people think it's just like a TV that's close to your eyes. That's totally incorrect. The reason why people are wearing these headsets is because they actually feel like they are in that experience. Like they see their own hands. They are the Hulk. They are, whoever. And so that's a very powerful experience, whether that be for storytelling, trying to tell someone what is it like. I've seen some journalistic work of like, what is it like to be homeless? And you see through the eyes of someone who's living on the streets and what it's like to be in their shoes. We've never had a piece of technology that could immerse people and give empathy. They call it the ultimate empathy machine. So I hope you learned a lot about the ultimate empathy machine. We may do another stream like this again, but check our past streams. We've done some cool stuff like AI versus AI, the first VR live stream to LinkedIn. We've done some news. We've done some quizzes. We're trying to do it all. We're trying to figure out what you guys like and what you don't like. If you have any feedback about the show, DM me or send me a private message. And any kind of business inquiries, make sure that you hit up info@thedigitalacid.com. So subscribe on YouTube. Follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook and stuff. We're everywhere. And this is Sebastian from The Digital Acid. Thank you for tuning in to our exclusive LinkedIn live stream. And we'll be back here Wednesday, 10 a.m. or 10:30, because we're not that precise yet. 10 a.m. or 10:30 every Wednesday. We're going to do a cool show about the future. And the idea is everyone's invited, even if you don't know about technology. We want to make it fun. We want to make it easy. We want to answer questions, and we want to hear from you. So that's all for today. Thank you for joining us. You make it all worth it. Love you long time. See you next time.